They claim they've got eyes, but just either slightly different from what they are. We talk, you see, things are normal.
Welcome to Strange Familiars. How are you doing, Allison?
For reals?
For reals.
I'm okay.
Good. It's cold today.
It is, but I've had about 19 cups of apple cider, so I'm good.
'Tis the season.
Mm-hmm. For warm drinks and blankets.
On tonight's show, we're going to be continuing my talk with Ron. If you didn't hear Ron's show last week, you might want to go back and listen. You could probably listen to either show in order, because it's just a collection of different stories he's telling, but I don't think you want to miss any of it, because he's got some great stories. Ron is from the Blackfoot Confederacy. He's telling a lot of stories of his own experiences, also some of the beliefs of his culture, and how they approach the other, and different aspects of it. He's going to talk about an encounter with a little person, about mystery lights, and about Bigfoot a little bit. And there's one really interesting thing he says, that their name for Bigfoot translates to the nowhere people. I really like that.
Oh, because they're not from any particular place.
I don't know the exact reason why, but that's the translation. I like that.
The nowhere people.
I like the nowhere people for Bigfoot. Before we talk to Ron, though, I'd like to thank our patrons. Thank you so much, patrons. We could not make Strange Familiars without you. If you like what we do and you'd like to hear more Strange Familiars, you can become a patron at Patreon. Patreon.com/strangefamiliars. There's different tiers of support there, and there's options for billing yearly or monthly. Whatever tier you choose, whatever billing option you choose, you're helping us make the show. You're helping us make Strange Familiars, and you're getting extra content besides. We do 2 full episodes of Strange Familiars every month for our patrons. You know what else patrons get, Allison?
What?
Virtually commercial-free shows. If you don't like those ads, Patreon's the place to be. Now, there's some ads that are baked in, like when we did the 90 Days to the Perfect Puppy ads. They're kind of baked into the show. They kind of stay. But the other ads are not there. So I call them almost ad-free shows on Patreon. So that's where to go if you want the ad-free versions. Again, it's patreon.com/strangefamiliars. Well, let's go ahead and get to my talk with Ron. Just because of the way it was edited, we recorded this in one session. He just walks right into his next story, which is about a little person.
So we're down by this fire, by this river, at the same place where those owls were talking. And there was a little bridge in the back of that house that led across this irrigation ditch to these coulees where they'd pasture out some cows. Well, we had a fire down there and, drinking beers and stuff like that. As old later on in my life. Well, I seen one headlight come, and then it stopped way down that way. And another one come, and it was a cop. And he was shining down around there. And I remember my uncle and aunt were saying, "Oh, they can't bother us here. I wonder what they're doing. Oh, that must be so-and-so." So anyways, I was just curious watching it all. I got up, and I'm going to walk up there. So I walked by that old house. There's a new house there. Anyways, I walked by those 2 old houses like that and went down to where I seen those first lights cut out because I thought maybe so-and-so did show up and he was hiding from the cops and I was going to visit him. Well, nothing there. So I was coming back, and when I was getting back around that bend and I could see that bridge, I was just walking. I still had a can of beer in my hand. And by the way, that's bad. When you're drinking and you're getting spooked, you can't do nothing to help yourself. They could just raise hell with you. Anyways, that's what I was scared of too. Like, oh, God, but don't. But I'm walking, and that's when I first see him. As I see him, he sees me right at the same time. And boy, he tensed. I seen him visibly tense, like where should I go next? Like he just like caught. And that's how he looked at me, and I kept walking, and I was scared. And at that point, for me to just not bolt and just make a beeline straight for that fire through all those rosehip bushes, all those thorns, I don't know what it was inside me, but something happened where I didn't take off. I picked up my pace really fast, and I kept walking toward it because it was in the same direction as I needed to go to get over there. And so I just keep walking, and who's there? who is it that's what gave me the strength, honestly, was being able to sound off, like in the military, you know, like that, who's that, you know, just that challenge. That's what, honestly, false bravado, I think, helped me get through that. And so as I said that, and I'm asking who's there, because I was scared. I was so scared because I could see through it, man. But it's dark. It's dark enough for me to see it, but I could see through some of the parts on it faintly, but I could see through it. I could see that bridge through it. So it's scaring me, you know, I know it's not. And so, I mean, I know it's not real. I know it's a spirit, but it's also a little person. And as it sees me, it tenses and it dives off that bridge as I'm walking toward it, and it doesn't come up. I stopped. I totally expected something to come up. Nothing did. I waited for a little while. No, I ain't lying, maybe about a minute or two. I was so scared, though. But when it dove, I didn't see it no more, so I was like, okay, well, there you go. I just kept looking and listening. I didn't hear anything. So I got too scared to stay there any longer, and I just went back because I was looking all around behind me, up, down, everywhere. But when it dove, I was waiting for it to come up. It didn't come up. And so anyways, I went back down to that fire, and I told him what I saw. And one of my cousins is really like a Christian, you know, and she don't want to hear things like that. So I just said, all right. She said, maybe it was just a reflection from a car that passed on this other side over here from that window. All right, maybe. But I doubt it. So I sat there determined, and I waited until the sun started coming and we could see. Okay, so as we're all sitting there like that, and I told him what happened, not much longer after I got back to that fire, I'm talking like 10 minutes after that, one of those lights I was talking about come above that house. It just turned on. Bing. But this one was about, the size of a beach ball maybe. You know, just right above that big house. Not the old scary house where you jumped out of and see those owls, not that one. The new house that they had there, the light was above that. And it was just there, and we all seen it, and I pointed up there, and I said, see, I told you I seen something. What is that? They're all looking at it. I just said that, see? Anyways, as we all watched it, what it did was it swirled. Like, it turned into a swirl. That's all I can say. It turned into a swirl and went down to the point of nothingness and blinked off.
Did it have any color?
Yeah, it was light, like white, but it didn't cast any shadow. Again, one of those kind of ghost light, you know. It doesn't cast shadow.
Yeah.
It makes its own that you can see, but you can't get light from it. You couldn't use it like a torch.
Right. No, I don't know if I've seen the same thing, but I've seen something similar at that Site 7 place. They don't illuminate the leaves around them or anything. They're just their own light.
Yeah. It's weird.
Yeah.
What is it? Strange. Yeah.
Is there any lore about the lights in your culture?
Yeah. Well, there are. Like I was saying, like the Star of Life. That one's a little different. That comes from that mountain. That's like one of those really, you know, when we talk about, like, saying angel, we just say good spirit. Well, when we say that one's a really good spirit and it's powerful, what we're talking about, geez, I don't know how you'd make the comparison. Somebody like one of the, like Michael, isn't that an angel?
Yeah.
Something like that, you know what I mean? Like really powerful like spirit. And so there's one of those up at this mountain that all of these people seek out. And it's kind of odd because you go up there seeking spirit, like, I don't know how to say it. You go up there humble from your heart to do good, and they'll come. Not all the time, but that's how they'll come. And that's one of them that would come, is that one up there. But that one's super powerful. I don't know anything more about it other than it's like, you know, it's like that, like Michael or whatever. It helps a lot of people. But as far as like other lights go, I'm not too sure. Like, I know there's spirits. Like when you see those little orbs, those are those spirits that are, just like a firefly in the night. Oh, it's one. You know, yeah, that's what they are. But like, then you get these other lights that people talk about with that Emoyitapi. And those lights they talk about with him, I don't know about those lights. With that guy, it's called Sasquatch. Yeah, those lights around him, I don't know what those are. They're all spiritual in some way. I just don't know exactly what those lights are around him all the time. I think it's those spirits, because I think that's the same thing about that guy. or those people, if you will, they're out in nature and they're the same way. So they, I wouldn't. This is just me talking. I don't know anything. I'll be the first to say I don't know anything. But I would think because they're in touch with nature the way the old ones used to be, that geez, they know when you're coming before you know when you're coming most times. Mm-hmm. So you move and staging, get ready, whatever. They might know you're there before you even, because of how in touch they are with nature. And this goes even a little further. It might be a little weird for people to hear it, but they might even be able to talk to those animals, like those birds, or communicate in some way. Even if it's literally talking, they might be able to. And so I think that thing is a little different than everything else too. That Bigfoot, Sasquatch, whatever you want to call him, Yetipi, he's a little different because there's a lot of words for him. Like, some of those words translate to the nowhere people, or we don't know where they come from. Mm-hmm. They predate us, but they've always been around. They're the ones that, people would be up there fasting. You'd go up with basically helpless, no weapons, nothing, and there's enemies everywhere. And they say those white ones are the ones that would protect people up there fasting on that mountain, talking about, that's not to say it's Chief Mountain. There's white Bigfoot up there and there's spirit. Some of those are spirits, and some of them ain't, Mm-hmm. So that goes back to the other thing. I think when people talk about that guy, I think they're all right. I do. I think they're all right. Somebody will say, oh, it's flesh and blood. Well, you're probably right. Oh, I think it's a spirit. Well, you're probably right, too. Because guess what? There are flesh and blood human beings, and there are spirit human beings. And that makes them different. He's part of this world, part of what we are. The duality, he's part of that, too. There's a physical and there's a spiritual. That's just me and what I think about him. And I also think when people say, well, how does his eyes glow? Well, a lot of those gifts that are given to him, we don't know. It's between them and the creator or whoever the big spirit they get the gift from. If it's any of that bad stuff, I can't even talk about it because I don't know anything about it. I just know it's bad and I don't know anything about it. I just know anything, those good ones. So, and even with that, with humans, if you look at it, this Sasquatch thing, in my point of view, opinion, it's kind of a reflection of man. The further we get away from the creator, the more angry or aggressive this thing seems to become. He doesn't like how we live. Who knows? Mm-hmm. He's mad at us all the time for this and that. But not all of them. Not all of them like that. The ones that my cousins talk about, they're just curious. They'll make noises like that cow call. They'll make that same sound back. And I'll see them peek around, look at them. They're out there. But they're just curious. They don't want an interaction. They're just looking at them. That was our experience with them in our tribe, in our area. I don't know why they're different in, say, Alaska. Why are they so aggressive up there? Is it because there's less of us that they are used to? Or they just match? I don't know. I think, though, in general, if they're a spiritual thing, they're kind of like almost a reflection of us. Mm-hmm. But anything, if we went to being respectful of nature again, those things would be more respectful too. That's just a hunch of mine. I don't know that. My only encounter with them, and I can't even say it was the branches that were broke when I was out hunting one time. Basically led me into what I thought was an ambush area. Scared the heck out of me because of my military experience, but I got out of it. I knew there was something odd in my backyard, so I had to keep searching and figure out what it was. It ended up leading into this weird trail. It was like a round trail. It made like this weird round trail where you couldn't see it only from one side, and it was through this impossible side to get to that I went through because I didn't like what I saw in my backyard and the brush way out there on the river. I didn't like that. It was odd. I never seen anything. So I went out of that little ambush thing, whatever. I'm sneaking and creeping around there, but I won't follow that trail further because it leads into this place, and it just, I can't use my rifle in there for one. And I guess the whole time something feels like it's watching me. I'm not fooling with that. I'd seen what I could see. If it was a person, I would have probably at least seen him, but I don't know what that was. But the trees that were broke from like 12 feet up, and they were big off of these bigger trees, the branches that were broke, there was no rope marks, there was no wind, nothing like that. And they were broke in a straight line, like they were placed down to this little area. And that's the only time I got scared is when I was in that little area once I realized what was happening. Well, not only that, the animals, all the four-leggeds, the winged ones, even the bugs, everything was just quiet.
Yeah.
And I never seen that before in my whole life. You know, like people say, I grew up in these woods. Well, same thing, you know. You know everything about it. It don't happen like that. And so that's the only reason I say it might have been one of those is because my dad seen one down about 2.5 miles down to the bridge. It was a big black one, and we stood still against that cliff wall because they went down the slope different. We all showed up to said nowhere to go fishing. I went right over and started casting. My dad walked right down to soak his feet with his girlfriend. They were sitting on a log that was kind of wedged in the shallow part of the river. Well, once he got his feet off, or the boots off and the socks, and he put his feet down, he happened to look up, and there it was. Like, caught, you know? But it wouldn't move. It would just stay there still. But caught, man. Like, dead right, it's right there. And my dad said, he said, yeah, that's what I seen. And I said, well, what did you do? He said, I just got up and started getting out there. And I said, well, what did it do? He said, nothing. It just kept staring at me. I said, well, did it move? He says, no, just its eyes. I said, well, how do you know? Is he looking around? He said, because he kept them on me the whole time. I was moving out of there, you know. But I tried to ask his girlfriend about it, and she just, you know, she just had this funny. In the military, you kind of see somebody when they see something that they don't like and how they look after that. That's kind of how she was looking, like just kind of, I don't know, that far off look.
Yeah.
And that's how she was looking, and then she just, my dad would try to talk to her, and she just deny it even happened. She didn't want nothing to do with it.
Yeah. I've run into that with witnesses. Like, you know, two people were there, and one person just refuses. Like, they don't even want to talk about it. The other person will bring it up. Hey, remember this happened? They'll just, nope, no, I don't want to talk about it. They just kind of shut down.
It's too scary, it must be, you know? Because when you tell it again, you have to live it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that'd be kind of scary.
Did your dad describe it?
Yeah, he just said it was big, just tall and black. That's it, but he didn't describe anything else. I didn't ask him anything else, and he didn't say anything else. And so after that, whatever was going on down in there with my little thing, with those branches and all that odd thing was, I had this dream. I got up. Oh, and in that house, they're staying at my grandpa's house. There was a bundle in there. It was an otter bundle, a woman's bundle, but nobody was there to take care of it anymore. Like, everybody that was passing away finally gave it to my grandpa, and then my grandpa passed away, and it just sat in that closet. And those are really holy. There's like a lot of spirits around those, associated with those. You know, and this one in particular was an otter bundle. Anyways, as I woke up that morning, and I went into that kitchen to get a drink of water. And so, I never slept in my grandpa's room. I just left it exactly how he had it. I didn't bother nothing in there, even that bundle, none of his clothes, and it's got nothing. Just the same way. I just stayed in that spare room to my girlfriend. But I got up and I went around, had a drink. As I was going in, on the corner of my eye, I could see those horses. And they was all standing out there, you know, must have been eating around by that house or something. I was thinking, just hope they don't mess with that fence, you know, rub against it and knock it over. He had a fence around his old satellite dish. He had a little fence around it so they wouldn't do that no more. Well, I was thinking that, just, you know, nostalgia. I think my grandpa could knock that over. Well, I got my drink and I'm going back out, and I decided to look to see if I knew any of these horses by name, you know, like, if I could recognize any of these horses. So I looked, and Jesus Christ, it was a Bigfoot. Yeah, a great big guy, man. He like had to bend down to look in that window at me, right? And then this other one to the right of it just took off before I could look at it. I only seen its elbow as it left the window pane thing. I couldn't see. And then I wake up, I just shoot out of my bed. I didn't even know I was dreaming.
Oh,
I
wow.
thought that was real. I was so scared. I get up and I do the same thing, and man, I'm looking for it. And that was the only time I ever had a dream about those hairy men. Yeah. Another guy talks about when he was out hunting on the foothills of Heartbeat Mountain, his tree line, and he's scoping around looking for anything out there to get. And he sees he's got his eyes on this deer. It's way far away, though. He's like, man, I have to get close to that. And he says, just add the tree line. He sees one, just comes out, man, just like nothing. Grabbed it. He said it put one hand underneath its neck, like under its jaw, and then the other hand down by its flank, and just like bent its back in half and just killed it instantly.
Wow.
And then threw it over its shoulder, and he said it walked back into the woods. But he doesn't like telling that story. Like, it's really hard to get it out of him, but he'll tell it if you ask him, because there's more stuff he's seen. He's always out there. Yeah, there's more to that thing, and he knows it. I got some other friends too. Same thing hunting up north this time instead of south. So that one happened. They're up north, but this other place called Buck Lake. They were driving out there, and there's this little creek. You have to come down this little tiny hill, and you come back up the other side. It's like a little dip, but there's a little creek down there. So they were coming out there, and they were driving up that side. And my friend said, yeah, there was this big, giant snowball just exploded off of our front hood and hit the windshield. Just boom, he said, and we didn't know what that was or what happened. He said, but whatever it was, he said, came from that tree line. And he's like, man, he said, that tree line was about 50 yards away. He says, but this thing that hit us, he said, beach ball size, roughly, big snowball.
Wow.
He said, we didn't really know what to make of it. We just, because it was quiet, we didn't hear nothing. So we knocked off that snow, and we jumped back in, and man, he said, we didn't even get another 5 feet, and another one hit. He said, this time, and we watched it come out that tree line, and he said it was about 5 yards into that tree line, too. He said, but it come flying out again, and we just watched it perfect. He said, whatever that was, man, it was like, it could shoot perfect, and then it hit that again, and that right on the hood, and exploded up that windshield.
Oh, wow.
He said, this time we didn't get out. We just stuck our heads out. I watched one side, he watched the other, and I just told him to gun it. Just gun it, and we got out there as quick as we could because we didn't know it was throwing us.
Yeah.
He said, if you don't believe me, go ask my brother. And so, sure enough, hey, what happened up there with those snowballs? Oh, man. And he proceeds to tell me the exact same story.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, what can launch a snowball that big? 50 plus yards.
Far.
And with perfect accuracy.
That's amazing. Whatever it was.
Yeah.
Whatever it was. So in the sweat lodge, right? This is the other one. Like, before I ever even heard about Bigfoot or was into anything like that, I heard this story one time, right? Like, so you hear of stories of those. That's just another spirit to us. That's how it is growing up. Bigfoot, oh, not spirit, yeah. But I heard this one where they're all in the sweat, and they said one of those hairy men come into that sweat, and I said, what? And yeah, one of my cousins telling me, he's like, that one was that. Just ask him, and he's just, I was like, oh, okay, yeah. So we're sitting there like that, and he says, all you hear is you can feel it. And then you hear it's like, Duke. It's walking in there. He said it walked around inside there for a little bit, like it went around, like how we walk around it once, walk around a full circle clockwise. He said that's what it did. Duke. But it coming from this other, like coming from a weird way, like the west side, it went around, but it went back to that west side somewhere and then sat on the north side somewhere. This Duke, but it doesn't need walls, so it just like walks where it wants because it's spirit, right? So anyways, that's one of the spirit Bigfoot stories I have was when it went into that sweat lodge with them and sweat. Did they talk to it? I have no idea. None whatsoever. But I wouldn't put it past them that they could. So those old guys were really powerful like that. They're really in tune with all that. Yeah, but for anything like that to even get into those sweat lodges, just so everybody knows, so they don't creep out and think it's demonic, nothing bad can get in those. It's impossible for it to. Again, we go back to quantum physics. I don't know, but somehow they're going to be able to explain that to everybody one day. I don't know how they clean them out, like how that works, but it's so holy they can't get in there. So anything that gets in there is holy. So all these guys that have these really crazy, awful Bigfoot stories, there are good ones too. There's a flip side to those too. So, I'm not saying trauma isn't real. I know it is, man, and I know it's tough for them to get over it, but on some level it might give them comfort to know that there are some good ones, I think.
It would make sense. Like people, right? Good, bad, and everything in between.
Yeah, exactly. Because, I mean, you hear so many different people, like, talking about them, so I didn't see one, like I'm saying, but I know people that, he's my dad, they don't lie, that guy, he's an old cowboy, right? You know how honest those guys are, they're simple people, they don't care about lies, and that's how he was. On my wife's side, their grandpa's got this, their grandpa's grandpa, go that way. So the story I've heard, it goes like this. A guy come from Canada and he was shot in the gut. He was gut shot and he showed up. And that old guy, the old man told their grandpa, the young guy, to get everything together and start, get his rope, get this. And his dad was helping too. And his dad was telling the young guy, so you're going to see some things. Don't be scared. Just do what we tell you when we tell you. Okay, all right. And so the old man's getting all his stuff together too, and he's getting ready to pray, and whatever he needs, his pipe or whatever he needs, I don't know what he used, but he had that guy lay down like that, and they had the young boy, cover him up when they told him, at him later like that. He sang his song, cover him up, singing that song like that, and did what he needed to do with his medicine that he was given. And when they told him, they said, now take that robe and pull it off. And his dad just told him, don't be scared now. And so he pulled it off. And when he pulled it off, there was just a skeleton in there. That old man reached down and grabbed that bullet. He took it out that skeleton. He told him, now cover him up again. He covered him up and he sang his song again and did his medicine again. He said, all right, now pull it off. Pull it off of him. That man was sitting there and he was still had blood on him and everything, but there's no wound. Nothing there. When that bullet was out, he lived. And those gifts, those are sought by solitary means. It's you sitting on that mountain, for what reason? To help people. What other reason why it doesn't come, And they're the ones that make contact with you. It's not the other way around. You don't just get to... Unless you're out ghost hunting, you might run into those ones that haven't passed yet and they're still stuck. They might be asking for help. I always thought that was kind of sad. They don't know. I don't know. I just think that's kind of sad how those spirits are. And a lot of people don't really think like that. But they're just like, let's go see. Let's get them on tape and let's see how it's like, dude, they're suffering. I pray for them. Why don't you? I don't know if that's the case with all of them, but on some level, I feel bad.
Sure. Yeah.
Jeez, I wish they had a way to get over it, if that's what's going on.
Right.
Because a lot of times the good ones, when you seek those out, you do it a different way. It all comes from the heart, and it's all humble. It's all usually solitary. It's one of those things, right, where you're not. It's like he knows what you're thinking and what you're gonna ask before you ask. So it's like one of those, right? It's just really solitary and it's really personal. That was one of the stories on some of the medicine. Now, this one happened to me. This one's one of the stories that I watched. Take place that I'm about to tell. I watched this. So, I'm in Alaska. My first marriage, I married a Tlingit girl up there. And it didn't work. Different people. Anyways, I seen her crying on the phone. I was going out fishing with her brother, my ex-mother-in-law's brother. I was going out fishing with him. He showed me how to live off the land up there in that village. Well, as I was leaving, I seen her crying, sitting in that kitchen. She had the phone clutched in her chest. And what's wrong? What happened? I thought something was wrong. And so I just got off the phone at the doctor's. And she said they're going to cut my toes off. And I looked down at them, and they were black. Those two ones on the end were black. And she said, they're going to cut them off. And I felt so bad. I don't know why it's so bad. But I called that medicine man back home, the old guy. This is my grandpa's brother. Anyways, I called him, and I told him what was going on and what happened. And he says, give the phone to her. Let me talk to her. And so I did. And I just went in the other room. I didn't listen or nothing. And when it got quiet, I went in there and I asked her, is it okay? And she said, yeah. Because it's not their way. They don't understand our way either. She said, he said he was going to go into his room and smoke his pipe. So, oh, really? Good, good. That's a good thing. But she said it the way she didn't understand it. Like, she said it funny. Like, she didn't understand. I don't know how to say it, but it sounded funny when she said it. And I remember that, but he said, oh, that's good, though. Then I waited for a while, and I called back. And his wife answers, and she says, oh, no, he's still in that room because I wanted to know what I had to do for her when it was done.
Mm-hmm.
What he was doing for her. And she says, oh, no, he's still in there, but he's just lightning striking all around our house. She says, with that guy, there's always something like that. Well, anyway, the lightning striking all around is doing his medicine. But then I finally get a hold of him. I called back again. I waited up another 30 minutes. And he said, Ron, he said, tell her it went good. Tell her she's going to keep her toes. And don't worry about it. And those are his exact words. I said, okay. And I told her the exact same thing. And I said, well, what do we got to do? He said, just put out some offerings, some gift goods, whatever you need. Just put out some offerings, give thanks, and have her do it. And so I told her what she needed to do. If she ever did it, I don't know. I told her what to do, to give thanks. And she kept those toes. So the day she died, she passed away from diabetes, I want to say. But yeah, she kept those toes her whole life. And so that was that. With the doctor, like I'm saying, like, see, so there's three kinds of medicine. You got the spiritual, like he did. That stuff don't need to be in the same room. It needs to be on the other side of the world for that to work. Then you got the physical, so that's like roots, things that we can all pick and do, make teas out of and stuff. Then you got the combination of the two, where you'll have, say, like root medicine, but there'll be a spirit attached to it that helps too. So together, they can heal something in you that's made specifically for you. Nobody else, just you. Same with that spirit, just for you. Then you can get over it. There's those three ways of doing it. But yeah, that medicine is the powerful kind, or what everybody else calls miracles. You see, that's how we are. We're just like, you see things like that, it's nothing. Like, what, you had a baby born from a virgin, so what? What else you got? We got miracles. That's probably how it would have been to those old ones. Like, yeah, big deal. We see stuff all the time. Like, you fed people with, one fish. Well, we fed whole people out of one ear of corn, and the bounty come out. That was one of the miracles I've heard from those Indians back east. But, things like that.
Right, yeah.
I'm just saying, it's all out there, that holy stuff, those gifts, they are there. And they are real. People wonder too, like, is the spirit world real? I'm so afraid of death. Yes, it's all real. I mean, the thing is I'll explain the afterlife, like how we believe it. Is when you pass, well, you got to make that journey. It's kind of a big thing to talk about. Okay, so there's a number of things that can happen to you. What if you die drunk? What if you die blacked out? What if you die sudden? What if you're murdered? What if you're killing yourself? What if you're... Regardless of what happens and how your spirit leaves your body, there's going to be a journey you have to make to get to that other side. Now, depending on how you died, it's going to depend on how your journey is. Because you might be confused, you might be stuck, you might be trapped, you might not realize what's happened to you. Your consciousness might still be trying to hang on to your spirit. You got to shed that too. Something's binding you here. You're not thinking with that spiritual mind, so to speak. You're still bound with this mind down here. So you might not get to cross. So depending on how that goes, we always have a sweat. And then we pray and we call our helpers, all good spirits out there to help them over. But each one of us, even though, has got a guardian, I guess you would say, with us. The spirit that's always there with us. Each one of us have one. People call them guardian angels, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways,
sure.
That spirit's there. That spirit shows up when you passed away. It'll help you too. But there's others that help. Like your family. They're over there waiting. And they'll show up too if they need. Well, what if you died in a way where, geez, you don't even, feels like you're alone over there. You're like blind, right? Those are the times when you're stuck. And it must be a horrible existence like that, when your spirit doesn't make it over just yet. But, so anyways, as long as you're like, always acknowledging your creator, I guess, or that higher power, or praying, or just, as long as you're like that and you have some sort of relationship, they always say that the journey over is going to be a little easier for some reason. I don't know why, but that's what they say. But eventually you get there. And in our way, we don't believe in hell. There's no hell like that. It's just here and then over to the old way they say the sandhills. You could call it what you want, heaven, whatever. In our way, the old way, they say when you're going to the sandhills, and we talk about it like that, because there's different versions of it, depending on who you're talking to. So if we say we're going into the sandhills, that means you're going on a wolf trail, and you're making that journey over. And when you get there, there's a big lodge right there, and next to that big lodge is a man. He's going to try to scare you. 4 times he's going to try to scare you, and he's going to show you wicked things, but he can't hurt you. You got to keep walking past him. And once you finally get past him, he'll stop and say, well, what's your name? Yeah, I'm so-and-so. And he'll say, okay, your family is camped right here, and he'll point to that big, giant camp in the spot where you need to go to find your family. That's what they say in our way when you make that journey over to get over there, is that man tries to scare you like that. It's kind of odd in those Tibets, the Book of the Dead.
Right. Yeah, I was thinking about that. Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing as there's, there's this guy that's going to try and do something. You got to kind of pass him. Well, that's the journey you're going to take to get there. And then when you get there, you got this choice, depending on how you are, like how you're raised, the path you walked, whatever you want, basically, like as you think about it. So I could live in the sandhills just as easily as I can go right to heaven, to what everybody else calls heaven, and go visit somebody over there. Then I can leave that and go to Nirvana and go visit somebody in Nirvana. What I'm saying is it doesn't matter. It's all one place over there. It doesn't matter how it looks. None of that matters. It's one place that they're all describing. And that's what I'm saying, is it may be different. Like in our version, we might live in this big encampment, but that's not to say that all those old Vikings that are living in Valhalla, that's where they're at. Jesus, you know what? One day I'm going to walk into Valhalla and just see. Man, how much can you guys drink, really? I want to see this. Have you guys got like big kegs you can slam around the Alps? So anyways, that's how they kind of say it is like it's all one place, but we kind of make it our own. But it's not like we get chopped out of any other one.
Right.
That's kind of how we look at it. It's like that. So, and even the people that have passed and have come back through dreams or whatever, one of them gave a message one time, and she was Catholic and Native. And her message to her brother was, stick to your way, because it's different with this one. And we don't know what that meant. That's just what he told his family.
Oh, that's interesting, though.
It is. That side, and they talk about a big mountain over there, too. Like, people like to climb that big mountain. It's really enjoyable, like, because you don't get tired. Everyone's about 25 years old. Nobody's, like, needs food or water. You could get them, like when people offer them to you, you can get one. Because we'll do offerings, like a spirit plate, right? Like, we're having Thanksgiving, and we'll offer to all the people that have passed. It's for all the spirits in our family that can't be there. They can get that food in the spiritual sense, but they don't need it. It's just more like, say, coffee. Drink it just because it's there, kind of thing. It's kind of cool and all, but they don't really need it. Kind of like how it is. That's how we believe. But anyways, so on this big mountain, they like to climb that thing. I don't know, that's what they talk about. And you can shoot a deer on one side and bring it down, dress it out, process it the way you're going to, and it'll just come alive on another part of the mountain next day. It's just, they don't need to do that, but when they say anytime you just even think of them, anyone over there that's passed, they can hear you. It's right there, instant. It doesn't matter. So that's like when people, that's what kind of concerns me. Like I hear stories and there's some bad, an entity really bad, and it's bothering somebody, and they're praying to God and all these things, and nothing's happening, and it's not going away. Those perplex me because nothing is more powerful than the Creator or God. Nothing is. So when things like that happen, it makes me wonder how. Like,
right.
why?
Yeah.
Because it's not common with the amount of people we have. It's not very common, but it does happen. So it does make me wonder, what is that? Because one of my cousins was possessed when he was small, out in the woods. They had this big encampment, but they brought him to that encampment that was going on, and those old men, I'm talking the powerful ones, people who know those names. I don't want to say them, but they'll know those names. These old men are really, really powerful, and they pulled that thing out of him, whatever it was. That perplexes me. Like, is it that, do you have doubt somewhere in your body that you really don't believe that he's the most powerful thing in the world that allows those things to bother you?
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah, because, I mean, a number of people have written to me, well, with both sides, have said that, they've invoked the creator, God, whatever their belief is. And it seems to be like, Jewish people have as much luck invoking their creator as Christian people, as Muslim people, as pagans, as, what I mean? So it doesn't seem to matter. But, very often it works. Whatever it is stops bothering people. But sometimes it doesn't. And and those are the ones that I've had the exact same thoughts you're talking about. Like, what? I wonder why. Like, what is going on there?
Yeah, like, what? I don't know. Because I'm not saying I'm afraid of something like that. I mean, obviously, if you're in that position, you'd probably be afraid. But I'm just saying, like, I know nothing's more powerful than him. So how is that? The elders told us, never doubt. When these things happen, never doubt. They said, because doubt can make it go away, they say. And again, that goes back to the quantum mechanics thing. Consciousness makes things happen on the energy level that small. I don't know. I don't know. The great mystery, right?
Right, yeah. I think it might be above our pay grade.
Yeah.
Can I ask you about spirit plates?
Yeah.
So are those put outside?
Yeah, typically where we put them is just simply on the back porch.
Okay.
And then, because you offer that food to, well, it's been described in a couple different ways. Like, so really what we're giving that food to first and foremost is the creator.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that to the earth. And after that to, everybody that's helped us or whatever we're thankful for. Because it's all the spirits that help us is how we believe, and that's our thanks we give back. Even for the food and even for our brothers and sisters that sacrificed themselves so that we could sustain our bodies and feed us for that meal. Mm-hmm. Thanks for that. That all goes into that. In the old days, everybody offered every time they ate, not just whenever.
Right.
Every time. Yeah. It's just a little bit. You don't have to give a lot.
Right.
Just spirit plates just a little bit. Yeah, because they say a little bit. You take a little pinch here. On that side, just a big old bounty. Boom. The spirit world, they can feast if they want.
So I'm just going on like the folklore I know from other cultures, and I was just wondering if it's the same. That food is never then, like if animals get it, fine, it's no big deal, but humans do not consume that food ever.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Never. And you might find that there might be some of that in those prey ties too that you see on trees. I don't know if you've ever seen those, but they're just prayers put up on trees as the offering. Mm-hmm. You might see food, or well, you don't open them, of course, because it's disrespectful. It's big no. But if you were to make one and you were to put them out, you might just because they're like people. The spirits are like people. That's what nobody understands. They're just like people. Mm-hmm. So what do you like? Put that in there.
Right.
What would I want? Personally, I would want pemmican, and I'm specific with back fat. Peppermint, back fat, and pemmican. Give me some of that. And it's not old food, and it's really good. So, I mean, I'd put that in there if I had it for them. Yeah.
How long do you leave it then?
Just until that day. Like, say we put it out in the morning or whatever, or even if it's like the afternoon. Just until that night, and then you could just dump it, do whatever you want, bury it, whatever you want. I would bring it up on that hill because I knew those magpies would like it. I'd just put it right there and come back down because they won't come close to the house and everybody's there.
Mm-hmm. It's just interesting because this is like fairly consistent across cultures. You make the offerings to these spirits and then they're not for people. Like I said, it's okay if animals eat it. That's not it's never an issue, but it's just not for people anymore. You don't take it back.
No, we give it to them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we take it. And that's just a way of giving thanks. It's not a way of saying, I'm beneath you, or you own me, or you owe me, or whatever. It's just a way of saying thank you to the spirits. Not to the physical thing, but to the spirits.
Right.
That's all that is. It's just a sign of respect and thanks.
I wonder how far back that goes, because like I said, it's in so many cultures. Like you find it, in Irish culture, you find it in German culture, you find it, native culture here. It's just so interesting that it's so consistent across the board.
Well, they said we were all one people at one time.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it goes all the way back. It's a fascinating tradition, though.
We live in this world that there is spirits here. Mm-hmm. It's just the fact of the matter. And I mean, I get it. It's your path to walk if you don't want to see it. It's your path. No one's to tell you to walk this path. No. But if you do see it and you do acknowledge it, there's a lot to be gained from it on a spiritual and personal level as far as enlightening yourself to better things in life, right? Just an understanding of life on a different level that makes you more appreciative for everything. Like, that's why I always sometimes wish as an atheist, geez, those guys think they got one shot at it. That's it. I'm going to be the best person I can be, so I'm living my life to the fullest. Those guys kind of, I don't know. I like the way they look at things. But at the same time, they're only walking in one world.
Right.
That's what they're choosing to.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. It's okay for them. That's their journey in this life.
Right.
We don't all get to see those spirits. You might be a person in all these holy societies. You might be, in our way, you got 3 of those holy societies. You might be in every one of them. You might know everything about everything. And still, and lived your whole life not seeing one spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? Then you'll see the drunk on the street over here. You're constantly seeing them. Hell, he's over there drinking with them sometimes.
Right.
So how does that happen? Well, it's like this. An old guy said this one time. Is that guy in that Sundance that's doing all that stuff and it's part of all these societies and makes all these things happen? No spirits ever talked to him or anything. Nobody's tried to convince him nothing because there's no reason. Look at him. He's in all these societies. He already knows it's real. We don't have to convince him. Well, these other ones over here, sometimes we gotta convince them and show them that we are real.
Mm.
So that's kind of like how that works. And it's odd because who am I? I'm just some random kid born on the Reds. But I've heard eagles speak Indian just like I've heard owls speak Indian. Let's get to that story.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, the first time it happens, I'm inside the sweat lodge. And when those things happen, you just get solemn. You get like that same thing where you behave in the ceremonies. That thing happens to you again. You just get solemn and you just sit there. You don't make no noise, or if you're singing, you just try to keep singing. But I just sit there and start praying when it happens. Well, you'll hear them come in. First they'll be around, they'll be flying up around us. And then they'll get above you. And you know when they're blessing you because they're really fanning you with both wings. Ooh, it gets hot. They fan you like that, and I sweat when they're fanning you. It gets warm. It's a blessing. They're blessing you. Anyways, it was like that. They've been blessing me like that, and then I could hear it sit down. I don't know how to say it, but it talked. It started talking, but how it talked was, imagine a parrot, that type of voice, that pitch, how they talk.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that, but my voice has weight. You could tell I'm probably around, heavier than 100 pounds at least. And that's how this sounded. It sounded heavy like a man, like a full-grown man, but it had the voice of a parrot, and it spoke in Indian, but really fast. And when it would talk, I would hear the other man I was talking to. I don't want to say his name, but those were his helpers, and it would show up and I'd talk to him, and it would. Like a lot of times, you just hear one side of the conversation. A lot of times, that's all you'd hear. It's him just, that means yes in our language, and that's what he's. You'll hear him talk like that, and well, sometimes they let you hear him. I don't know why they let you hear him, because usually only he knows those secrets of the universe, if you will, because they give him those gifts, and those are things you don't tell everybody, because it's like you can't skip to the end of the movie. It's not in your life. Your life, say, is the movie. You can't skip to the end. You don't get to cheat. You don't get to peek, or you don't get the message. You don't get the idea. You don't get the lesson in your life.
Right. So
a lot of the times the old guys won't tell you anything. But I heard them. You don't have to sit there and say, yep, they talked to me. Well, I heard them talk to me.
Wow.
But, he won't tell you that, though. Yeah, they talked. He'll just tell you what they said or what the messages are, but he won't describe what I just described to you. You know, it's not for you. You know, so that's kind of how it is for them. That's their gifts. So
Right.
I don't know how that works, because they say the more you talk about something, like if you have a gift, like a medicine, they say it could go away. If you keep talking about it, don't take it away.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really a humble thing. That's what I'm saying. Like it's so humble and it's so strict. You can't do certain things. You know, it's so regimented. Once you have those responsibilities, you know, you got to be really careful and really straight and really honest.
The local healing tradition here, which they call powwow, but it's Germanic, it comes from Germany. They just, I guess, borrowed that name. It's similar in that there's a very famous guy back in the 1700s, very famous healer, who wrote a book kind of documenting it. And he said after he wrote the book, he couldn't do it anymore. It's almost like he broke the rules. And there's other people that said you can't really talk about it too much. You can teach someone how to do it, and in that you can talk about it, but you can't just tell everybody or it'll go away, and you can't take money for it. Some people do, and I have questioned whether they're really doing it or not, because the tradition always said you cannot take money for this or it's just not going to work.
And that's how it is too. I mean, you give thanks in ways. Like you might pay with like food.
Right, yeah. They would like buy the guy dinner or something, sure, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not like money, so to speak. There's only one time I know of where you give someone money, and it's, I don't know why they do it. It's just basically a tradition, a modern tradition. But when you get your face painted by somebody, you usually give them like $1 or $2. I don't know why. My grandpa used to always send me to, you know, when we were talking about these two people in, you know, that Star Life, I'd go to their ceremonies, and they would paint my face, and my grandpa would always send me up there with $1. I'd have to go up there with that $1, and I never knew what it was for. I just know they'd paint me and I'd head out, and I never knew what the paint was for until I was older. You know, it was a blessing that he has the right to paint your face in a certain way, and that's his blessing on you. And then it's just a tradition. It's a modern tradition, like I said, because obviously there was no money back then. So it's just like a simple $1 or something. And all I've ever seen them do with that money is hand it out to everybody that cooked. They don't keep it.
Yeah. I mean, that might be part of the equation, you know, like it's passing through.
That's the only time I've ever seen it in our way. It was like that, but I don't ever see them keep that. Just to whoever helped. So let me tell another about my Uncle Marvin's grandpa. So my Uncle Marvin's grandpa, so Marvin would tell me all these things about the creek, up and down it. And so he said we all come from medicine people, all along this. Everybody here had medicine. Everybody. Later on, I learned the guy that did that, his name was Chief Crow. He gave everybody, all his son-in-laws, a pipe, a bundle, something like that. That band where I come from, that land right there, is called the All Sacred People or the All Holy People. That was our band out there. And they all had these gifts. Well, anyways, down the road, he would talk about this. Marvin would tell me, you know, when I was young, I'd see every house had something down here. This is slowly it's going away, but I'll tell you a story when I was small about this. He said, my dad and I were down chopping wood, and my dad had his hatchet, and just then a rider came by. He said, and I pointed, I said, oh, look, Dad, there goes a rider. He said, he looked up just then, he was still chopping, and cripes, he chopped the tip of his thumb. Oh, it was bad, you know, it was bad. Right below his fingernail there, and it was hanging by just a piece of skin. So he's pinching it while it was bleeding. He says, run up there and go get your grandpa. And so he ran up there, got that old guy come down there, looked at it, and he said, now run into my room and get me my eagle bone whistle. He says, in my pouch. He says, and come back down with that. And so that's what he did. He went up and got his stuff that he needed for doctoring. And I think he got him a drum, too, and his stick. And so he come back down. And anyways, Byron's dad was holding his finger so it wasn't bleeding, and with a stump of it like that. And the grandpa told the young guy, now go ahead and put that pouch, undo it, and put that pouch over that thumb. And so he did, and he put that pouch over it, and he kind of tightened it back on that side, like he said. Sorry. And they just held it like that. He sang his song. When he got done with that song, he blew that eagle bone whistle on that pouch. I don't know how many times or how he did it, but he said he blew that whistle on that pouch. And he said, "Now," told Marvin's dad, "Now take it off." And I told his son, "Now take it off." And his son was scared. No, I don't want to. And so Marvin's grandpa said, he looked at me and he told me, "All right, we'll take it off." And he said, so I pulled it off. He said, when I pulled it off, he says, "Oh, it was just a healed stump."
Huh.
Yeah. And I said, well, what happened to that pouch? I said, "What was in it?" And he said, "Oh, I don't know. To me, it just looked like sawdust." I said, "But was that finger in there?" And he said, "No." So anyway, see, that's a mystery that's not for us. We don't get to know that. We'll have to go through this life and not know that. That's not our... If it's meant for you, you'll learn that.
Right.
They'll teach you and they'll let you do it for helping people or whatever, Sometimes, not a lot, they'll just come to you and you'll have to do something for them. So I can't remember his name, but he died in the 80s. And he was a kid. He was sleeping. All the men went to get wood, but he was just a little guy and he was kind of puckered out and he was sleeping on that wagon wheel. His back up to it. And all those men went out to get wood. But this was during the day, which I was talking about those daydreams. This is odd. But anyways, so this is an exception to that rule, I guess. But so the boy's sleeping with his back up against the wheel. So everybody went out to go get wood and he was there by himself. He said he opened his eyes and he could see an Indian coming toward him. He was all dressed in white buckskin. He had a headdress and he walked right up to that boy and he said, "Come with me, I'm going to show you something." He got up and he followed him. And he went out. He was picking all these different roots, herbs, plants, showing him. And he was telling him, he said, "There's going to come a time when a sickness is going to come over to people. And I'm going to show you how to cure that sickness with this." And so he showed that boy what to do and how to do it. And just as he was done, showed that boy in his dream, those men came back. And they said that boy woke up and he was just running around frantic looking for paper and a pen. Finally found it, start writing everything down. That guy cured cancer in our tribe all the way up to the 80s when he died.
Oh,
An old man. Yeah.
And whatever it was is lost.
Yeah, they came to him.
Mm-hmm.
See? And it's like that. And that's how I know, those ones that come to these other people, if you're close to them, or they're in your family or something, of course it's easier for them to open up with you. I have some of these in my family. I've had one pass, got another one now that's new. And so I'm going to tell you this one, it's crazy. Okay, so they're at this house, and this house is haunted, and they all called their helpers, or they built a sweat lodge outside of it because they're going to try and get all this bad out of this house. And they called all his helpers, and first one that shows up, spirit, was an old man spirit. He showed up to help. The next one to show up was Mumokamita spirit, a horse spirit. He showed up, and those two were already there. And then the last one to show up was that eagle. And that eagle come in. He come flying in like that, and he landed right on that horse. The spirit now, and we're in a sweat lodge now, remember, so they don't have walls, so they don't have to worry about it. But it landed right on the back of that horse, and when it landed on that horse went to bucking. That smudge blow, all this, that splashing stick, all that stuff, and got spilt, and geez, and anyways, because that horse started bucking, and when it did that, that eagles, those eagles just kind of saying, he's just kind of saying, yeehaw. Yeah. That old man spirit was mad. It was once for doing that, and he just kind of went, saw. That old man spirit, that's what he's saying. Like, and so they get everything picked up, and they're talking how they're going to go in and take this spirit out of there, that bad one. That old man, that horse, and that medicine man. They were talking, and so they have what they're going to agree to go in there and do, how they're going to get rid of it. And they're asking that eagle, so does it sound like a good thing, huh? We should do it like that. And that eagle said, what? Wait, you want me to go in there? I ain't going in there. There's a spook in there. I was just saying, they're really comical when they actually do come. That's how they are. They're like that. And so, the same one was another same one, but when he flew in, same thing like that. He's always talking like that. He flew in and just kind of landed, and He's like, he's kind of says, you know, when I was flying in here, I passed over this lake. I looked down and I seen my reflection. Jeez, I look good.
Oh, these are great stories.
I'm just saying that's, you know, these spirits that they're really comical. And there's backwards ones. They'll ask you something like, do you want to wrestle? No. Jesus, start flopping you around. You know, there's stories about those backwards ones too. They're out there too. If they ask you stuff, then you're supposed to always ask them opposite or answer them opposite.
Oh, really?
And because those guys get in there too. One of my friends growing up, he was flopped around by one in the sweat, and that's the first time I heard about it was from him. He said, so whenever you go to this guy's sweats, if this one comes in there and asks you something, you just say opposite everything. He said, geez, I got flopped around there. I said, was you scared? He said, yeah. How did it feel like I get flopped around by a man?
So he answered the wrong way.
Yeah. And he said, you want to wrestle? And he said, no. Start flopping him around. But it's a good spirit.
Right.
It helps people, but it's just backwards.
Right.
Literally.
Oh, wow.
You know? It's really odd. And I think it knows that. I think it just does that. Like, what other spirit will ask you to wrestle? Or do you want to, you know? I think it just does that too, you know, just to,
Yeah.
You know, part of its way. I don't know. The little people are everywhere too. They're in everything too. Like, okay, so my father-in-law leads his people back in the mountains on horses, packing back there, and he'll be the cook. So one year he gets hired by the community college here to lead a group of students back, and they're going to teach him about this, that, and the other. I don't know what it is, but he gets hired on as the guide. He goes back there and brings them all the way back. They finally get all the way back to where they're going to set up camp and they're going to do their thing. And he's just camp crew, you know. He's not going out with them or nothing. And so anyways, one night he's sleeping. He's all cowboy guy too. And, you know, he just puts his saddle down right there and puts his bedroll up to that and sleeps like that right there. And that's how it was one night, and had his spurs off, all that stuff kind of piled beside his head. And he comes to, and it's one of those dreams, so you come to, where you wake up, but it's a dream. And so he woke up like that, and he come to, and because he heard something. And then he sat up, and he started looking around, and geez, he seen all those little people, little Indians, just kind of digging around in everybody's stuff, looking at everybody. You know, just looking, like, really curious. He said, they're all looking at people's things. Everybody was asleep. He said, then I looked to the other side of me, and he said, there's one standing there, a little man. And he had my spurs, and he was clicking that rowling with his finger, and he was spinning it. And he said, your rowling's loose. He said, you know you're going to lose this, right? And Daryl just looked at it. He says, oh, yeah, I've been meaning to fix that. And that little man just kept spinning that rowing, and then he looked up at it as he was still spinning it, and he said, do you know who we are? And Daryl said, I've heard of you guys. And he said, do you know where we come from? Daryl said, in the mountains, right? And that little man pointed to all of those trees. Every tree he was pointing at. He said, we come from those. He was pointing at the trees. So in every tree, there was a little person up there. That place where they was at. And so he gets up the next morning, because he had that dream, I slept through the whole night. He gets up that next morning, and that's what kicks it off. He remembers, because it told him about his rowing. He didn't want to lose it. It was gone already. Yeah. It's probably them. They like shiny things. You can't bring shiny things into a sweat. They'll take them from you.
Huh.
You can't, like, say you forget your earrings or something, they'll take them off you. You know? Sometimes, like, if you just do it on purpose, you won't get them back. If you made a mistake, you might find them somewhere down the road, if you do get them back. But, yeah, they'll take them in the sweats. You're not supposed to do that.
That's the little people.
Any spirits in a sweat will take shiny things.
Okay.
I don't know why. Yeah, but little person or not, it doesn't matter what they are. They'll take those. Anything shiny in a sweat. Yeah, they don't want that. And just so everybody knows, like, the sweat lodge itself is a miracle. I don't know if anybody realizes that. You know, those guys in Arizona that were trying to run sweats that didn't have the rights, that were, you know, taught by natives, he was killing people down there. Like, people died in his sweat lodge. Okay, in ours, nobody has ever died in them because of how they're done. We say they're holy. The spirits won't let you get hurt in there. Well, it's a right to run a sweat lodge. You don't just run one because you see it on TV or you want to romanticize the idea. No, you're going to hurt someone if you do that.
Right.
And I'm not saying just because we're natives we have the sole right to sweat lodges. We don't.
Mm-hmm.
We're not allowed to spread our way to anybody. We're not allowed to say, to recruit.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, we can talk about it, explain what we do, and so you're free to join one of our ceremonies if you want to come in, because they are open to anybody. In our way, we can't recruit you to come in. You have to come find us on your own. And then once you're there, I mean, you're invited in, because it's not up to us to stop you from talking or communicating, like having a relationship with the Creator. It's not
right.
for us to stop that. We're supposed to let any people come. It don't matter who you are. It's people, humans. It don't matter who you are. It's just us.
Right.
All our
right.
brothers and sisters are all allowed to come. It's kind of like that. But we're not allowed to recruit, and there's no money exchanged. We don't want money.
Mm-hmm.
None of that. You have to come in a humble way, or they'll know. They'll know right away. And you can't lie to them or try and make money if you're in it for money or whatever.
Right.
It's not like that. It don't work. If you're trying to seek fame and fortune from it, it'll end in disaster, like it did for that guy in Arizona trying to run the set lodges. You just don't play like that, and you get hurt.
Yeah, it seems to be a bad idea to introduce a profit component into this stuff, like I was saying.
I think it's got something to do with make a bad intent maybe down the road.
Maybe, yeah.
I guess it's just something like that. It doesn't work.
Ron, I want to thank you so much for sharing your stories. I'm sure you have more. I'd love for you to come back and share some more.
Yeah, let's do another one, because there's so many more. Like, you got to hear the bunk beds that got whirlwinded in this room one time.
Let's do it. I recorded an entire other conversation with Ron. We had a second phone call. You'll be hearing more from Ron in the future on the show. It won't be next week, but somewhere down the line. So if you like my talk with Ron, stay tuned to Strange Familiars. This is not Halloweenish at all, Allison.
No, but I feel like it is for the season.
I see no pumpkins, no ghosts, no spooks, no witches.
No, it's for a different kind of season. Cold season.
So this is actually a really, really cool tin. I guess I should have measured it before we started.
I'm going to say it's 10 by 5.5.
Let's see. It is 9 inches by 5.5 inches. Yeah. 9 inches by 5.5 inches by 5.5 inches, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a big tin, but it's really, really cool. Here, ASMR time.
Nice.
Gibson's linseed licorice and Chlorodyne cough lozenges. An ounce of these lozenges contains 18 minims of chloroform and 2 minims of ether, guaranteed under the Food and Drugs Act of June 30th, 1906.
It contains chloroform, ether, and cannabis in a linseed, a pleasant linseed flavor.
Where's the cannabis?
Oh, I looked it up, and there is cannabis in it too.
Oh, you looked it up. Okay.
The initial. It should help you with your cough.
Yeah.
You probably won't cough at all. It'll be out. Just a little bit of ether. Oh, I think Chlorodyne itself is a mixture, maybe, of chloroform and cannabis together, and that's what makes Chlorodyne, maybe.
Oh, okay.
I looked it up before, and there's definitely cannabis and chloroform in it. Now, there's no actual candies in this tin. This is an
empty tin, so unfortunately.
Because I feel like it could help me get through the winter. I have a bit of a cough, sir.
But you could keep your weed in there.
You could keep your weed in it.
Yeah.
We're not suggesting that.
We're not. I'm just saying you could keep.
You could also keep quite a few things in it.
Yeah.
Pretty substantial.
It's a substantial tin.
And it has a nice palette. It's like a yellow background with some flowers and things you might see when you're Hepped up on Chlorodyne.
Gibson's linseed licorice and Chlorodyne cough lozenge tin. I'll take a photo of this. I'll put it in the show notes at strangefamiliars.com. If you click on that, it'll take you to our Etsy shop where you can purchase this and other curiosities of the week. This is a neat one. While you're at Etsy, make sure to pick up one of those glow-in-the-dark Strange Familiars t-shirts. I think we still have all sizes, from small through 3XL. At this point, get them while they're hot. We have the classic blue Strange Familiars Awoken Tree shirts as well there. Copies of my books, if you get them from Etsy, they come signed. Some of my music is up there.
Do you have any original art?
Some original art, some prints are up there. Allison has lots and lots of antique photos up there and much more. Go ahead and check out our Etsy shop. The shop name is Lost Grave because you can't change your shop name on Etsy. I tried to make it Strange Familiars, but...
Someone else has that name.
Yes. So the shop name is Lost Grave, but if you type in Strange Familiars, you'll see our stuff come up. If you get stuff from our Etsy shop, that also helps us continue to make the show. It all goes into one big pot here. While you're at Etsy, check out our friends at Karmic Garden and check out Chad's shop, Ruck Rabbit Outdoors. All right, that's it for this week. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back soon with more Strange Familiars. Strange Familiars is a production of
Dark Holler Arts.
Music, books, art, podcasts, and more. Intro and background music is by
Stone Breath.
If you want to hear more or purchase music by Stone Breath, you can go to stonebreath.bandcamp.com. Strange Familiars is on
Instagram.
We are on Instagram, at Strange Familiars, one word. We're also on
Facebook.
Facebook.com/Strange Familiars, where you can join the Strange Familiars gathering group. And you can find us on the web at
Strangefamiliars.com.
All great things have fallen down, but held on high by blessed winds, as blossom